This is Ms. Deegan with your Sunday Creative Analysis lecture. This will be kind of a short one today. What I'm asking you to do today is similar to what we did last week to start off our reading of Lord of the Flies. Here it is, our second week of the unit on Lord of the Flies, Maybe There Is a Beast. And maybe you've gotten to that place in the novel already. One of my favorite lines from our character, Simon. So the creative analysis assignment for the day is, in a word or in a sentence, going to be this, simply put. What is the culture on the island in two different concepts? Like last week, I'll ask you to choose a bit of text that has some image in it, and then I'll ask you to explain the connotations of the image, analyze what's happening on the page. So it's a really text-rich analysis posting. It's asking you to think deeply about language, diction, imagery. In other words, we're still with this concept here, this second standard of setting. Setting is time, place, and culture. Today, let's explore culture. What is the culture of the island? And remember, there are three really at work, and the third one is the one that we're really beginning to sink our teeth into the further we go into the book. To identify and describe the culture, we have to turn to imagery, we have to turn to the language, and we have to explore its connotations, just like last week. But this week, I want you to think about this in terms of concept pairings. And I'll show you what I mean using this poem from last week, Allowables by Nikki Giovanni. When I read the poem for you, I highlight a couple of images, quick, simple images. The one of the spider, this delicate, quiet spider, small. And then the image of this actor who is picking up a book and smashing that spider. So two contrasting images. In this, I feel strongly the emotional pull of the poem, that fear and then the regret. I don't think I'm allowed to kill something because I'm frightened. She even says it directly, regret tied up in fear. But there's something else at work. It's not just about fear, it's about power. What does the speaker do with that fear? The speaker kills. So what I land on here is this idea about concept pairings. It's not enough to think about power. I cannot say that this poem is about power only. Power always comes with something else. In fact, I'll go on to assert every meaningful theme in literature, if it is a book worth our study, has a partner. It's never about just one thing. In this poem, power is partnered with fear. So by that logic, it's not enough to think about setting as just one thing either. When I read your responses from last week, I'm already seeing that. I'll talk for a second about Emma's. She noticed that even in the quiet stillness of Simon's peaceful utopian space, the darkness creeps in at the end, and there is a possession of the island that happens in those last moments. And so you're already noticing it. We're just going to spend today much more deliberately selecting two images that show contrasting or even contradicting elements of setting. So here, all of this put together on a slide for you. What cultural concepts does the setting reveal? Innocence and fun, life and death, order and chaos. There's so many limitless pairings that you can come up with. And the more unlikely or creative, the better. Find two images that communicate those cultures, those two different cultures, and make them counterpoints. They should not be arguing the exact same thing. Analyze the images with your description of connotations and the concepts that they're driving towards. And then include text on your posting and in your BGD, please. That will just enrich your ability to conduct meaningful textual analysis. Here are my models. These are from last week. I chose them last week because I was already thinking along the lines of concept pairings. So my first one was the culture of death of the island. The island has a culture of destruction and death. I went to find an image that suggested that, and this is it. And here is my writing about it. The culture of the beautiful island is a culture of death. The heat is aggressive, the food source is deathly, the shadows are even menacing. Ralph doesn't seem to know this, but always on the edges here, something foreboding is waiting to envelope him in the darkness too. So we've got that, the culture of death. And yet, there is this culture of life and even of peace. The opposite. Culture of the island is one where nature is alive, life. The characters who best understand the life of the island will live most richly there, which is not to say they will survive. The island lives, moves, and seeks its own objectives, however evil they might be. But there's also a peaceful and a fragile beauty within that. The sun is honey-colored, the darkness quiets and cools everything. And who belongs there? Fascinatingly to me, Simon. One culture of death produces certain characters, and this culture of life produces Simon. That's your task. 2 images, 2 pieces of text, 2 analyses. I look forward to reading them.